Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada.
Thanks for reminding me. I just moved to a new location and
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I thought so. Yeah, sorry.
I had forgotten about it.
Guru Maharaj, today any verse or topic for today's class?
Well, let's see, I had one from yesterday, but did something different yesterday, and today thinking do a good verse. Let's see. Give me a topic. I'll pick a verse. Or anyone can give me a topic.
Yeah. Dear devotees, please suggest any topic for the class today. Raj Prabhu is saying love.
Love, okay. There's one verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita that speaks about love. And Prabhupada speaks about the difference between love and lust. Let me see. Coming up. Yeah, there's one verse in the CC, and I can't remember the particular verse. It gives the difference between love and lust. Well, I'll just speak in general then. Let's see if I can find something here. Let's see.
Guru Maharaj, I think Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, 14th chapter, 156 verse.
Okay, bring it up. Yeah, put it up on the screen.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Okay, let's see. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Prema Maya Vapu Krishna Bhakta Prema Dina Sudha Prema Rasa Gune Gopika Pravina. Krishna is full of ecstatic love and always subordinate to the love of his devotees. The gopis are very much experienced in pure love and in the dealings of transcendental mellows. He mentions love. We need a little bit of a comparative type of discussion so we can speak about it from that point of view. Chaitanya Charitamrita does explain the difference between love and lust. I can paraphrase the statement, and that is, to satisfy the senses of Krishna is actually love, and to satisfy one's own senses is actually lust. Here we see the gopis are experiencing pure love. So love really means to satisfy the beloved, or to act in such a way as to give pleasure to the beloved. This is an indication of an activity that is offered with love. In the material world, love hardly exists. The closest thing of love in the material world, as explained by the acharyas, is a mother's love for the child, because the child cannot really reciprocate. The mother is not dependent on the reciprocation of the child for her love for the child. When you give something to get something, it's not love, even though it may have feelings of affection. It is mixed with the personal desire, and therefore it cannot be categorized as love. Love is something that is free from personal interest. Love is only for the beloved, and love acts only for the benefit of the beloved. The gopis, sometimes they look like they dress very nicely, and it appears that they become unhappy when Krishna is not there. But this is all their experience, their expression of love for Krishna, because they know Krishna, that he likes to see them dress very nicely, gives him pleasure. So they do it in order to give him pleasure. A person in the material world may dress very nicely to attract others for some praise or for some interaction. But in the spiritual world, although the motivation appears to be for one's personal interest, it is not, because they know what Krishna likes. So in the material world, where is that love found? Well, as we mentioned, the closest thing, and even nowadays that has been subverted away because of it features the age of Kali, where even a mother finds taking care of a child is an interference or a botheration with their own sense gratification. So sometimes they minimize or even neglect the children nowadays, because it doesn't give them pleasure. But real love in the mother-child relationship is the mothers will sacrifice her time, she will sacrifice her sleep, she will sacrifice everything about her own interests, even her own health, to take care of the child. So that is love. And that's the closest thing you can find in the material world. Women, boy and girl in this world, or even friends and friends, are always reciprocal relationships. If something doesn't come forward from the opposite party, the person feels slighted, and therefore they also become disturbed, or they also reduce their attraction and attention to the opposite party. So you'll see all of that in today's world, people argue amongst themselves. People go to counselors and they can't get along with each other for whatever reason because there's so many expectations from the other side that when the expectations are not fulfilled, the relationship starts to gravitate down and many times it breaks. I've seen that and I've been involved with that, trying to help persons in that situation, and I find it's impossible to do anything in that situation because it's all about getting the other person to either be different than they are or to treat that person different than. So it's that is not love. We get an example with this pure love from the gopis. Srimati Radharani, she wants to be with Krishna, but she knows sometimes Krishna wants to be with another gopi. So she'll go to that other gopi and she'll teach that other gopi how to serve Krishna nicely, because she knows by doing that, that gopi will give Krishna pleasure and that's her happiness. So she may also neglect the fact that she wants to be with Krishna in order for another gopi to get the benefit of being with Krishna, which is what Krishna wants, and therefore Krishna is pleased. And therefore, this is how real love acts. It's not motivated by anything. And if there's any slight motivation of personal interest, it falls into the category of lust. Now, lust has a very broad definition. Lust means for me and love means for you. That is basically a very succinct explanation of the two words. So therefore, when the Shastri, the Acharyas say there is no love in this world, they are not simply being arrogant or somehow or other trying to impress people. No, when you understand what real love is, because love means for the benefit of the beloved. If you find that in married life, which it does go on for sometimes in relationships, then you can actually really appreciate the fact that they have something. But that's very rare. And of course, even in the material world, when people try to please the other person, they don't really know what is beneficial for the other person. They may also give them some form of sense gratification, which ultimately is not beneficial, because material activities don't really satisfy the person or the soul. The soul may give some titillation and stimulation to the mind, but cannot reach deeper into the individual's existence. So because living by their mental proclivities, they accept these exchanges as some form of love, but actually it's not. So as Srila Rupa Goswami gives the definition of love, Yabila Sita Sunya Gyana Karmana Navrita Manakulena Krishna Silanam Bhakti, activity that is not motivated by fruitive activities or personal interest, or gained but through philosophical speculation, which is for Krishna with an intention to please Krishna. If it pleases Krishna, but Krishna, it doesn't have that same definition or understanding. Just like the demons please Krishna because Krishna likes to fight. And so when he fights, he finds happiness in fighting and he kills the demon. But it's not, they don't get bhakti because their intention was not to please Krishna, but somehow or other they did it inadvertently or indirectly. So we're getting a little insight of the quality of love. Love means to sacrifice for the beloved. No service means to make some personal sacrifice in order to please Krishna or to serve Krishna, or even to serve Krishna's devotees. These are elements of love. And when it becomes constant, it actually becomes love. Also relative to time, place, circumstance, and individual. And people hit on the pure nature of love once in a while, even in a material sense, but it doesn't stay. It doesn't stay because it's all about, it's not all about, but my happiness. Devananda Pandit has said something. He's in a particular situation now where the war in Ukraine is going on, and he is in the midst of that lockdown there, or that holdout. And so devotees have been sending money, food, clothing, water, and various other necessities through various agencies to these devotees. And sometimes sometimes some of the devotees are risking their lives in order to save the life of another person. So that is an element of love. You see sometimes say, well, I want to fight for my country, and they risk their life. They say, I love my country, but what is the country? A country is not an entity, it's simply a political arrangement. So that cannot be considered to be love. But when it's done for an individual, a living being, then it has some of those elements. And if we study the love of the gopis, then we understand what is real love. And the pastime that illustrates that is that when Krishna had a headache, he was there with Narada Muni, and Narada Muni was inquiring how Krishna was. And Krishna explained, well, I have a headache. Narada became concerned. He said, what can we do? Well, Krishna says, go to my devotees and ask them to put the dust of their lotus feet on my head. And if I get the dust of the lotus feet of my devotees on my head, it'll relieve my headache. So Narada becomes enthusiastic, and he goes to the Rishichari, not the Rishichari gopis, but to the sages of Danyakaranya forest, who worship Lord Ramachandra. Of course, they worship Lord Ramachandra in the mood of Madhurya Ras, and later on became Rishichari gopis in the next life. But as they were in the Danyakaranya forest, devotees of Lord Ram, Narada went and explained the situation, and they wanted to help Krishna. But when he told them what they had to do, they became quite shocked and thought and responded by saying, how is it possible that we can put our foot dust on the head of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? You know what will happen to us? We will go to hell. So Narada, please don't ask again. So Narada went to a series of different groups of devotees, and they all gave the same response. He came back to Krishna in a very despondent way and said, I could not find anyone. Narada said, now you go to Vrindavan and you meet the gopis and request. So he did, and when the gopis heard that Krishna had a headache, they immediately wanted to do something to relieve Krishna's headache. And then he told them, and immediately they start scraping the dust from their feet and handing it to Narada, encouraging him to hurry up and go to Krishna with the dust. And then Narada responded, well, don't you know that if you put your foot dust on the head of the Supreme Lord, you'll go to hell. They said, we don't care. We'll go to hell forever if it relieves Krishna's headache, even for a moment. So this is love. Of course, no one can match the love of the gopis. It's not possible. And Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna is the pinnacle of all love. If you read the 10th canto, especially some of the verses where Radharani is expressing her desire to be with Krishna in different ways, she actually becomes mad in love for Krishna and speaks almost like a mad woman. So no one, the love for the gopis are the study point of those who want to understand that. And love is expressed in 5 rasas in the spiritual world, generally 4 main ones and a 5th one also. And that is by serving Krishna in different ways, by developing and acting in that capacity, by becoming a parent of Krishna and protecting Krishna, taking care of Krishna, and by paramour exchange, Madhurya Ras in its different categories of and Swakya Ras, marriage, love, um, and lawless love. Lawless love is the highest. Is that the gopis are married, apparently. This is part of the Leela. And they have husbands, but they neglect their husbands. They run to Krishna when Krishna blows his flute. All they can think about is Krishna. They are running to Krishna, not caring for their children, not caring for their husband, not caring for their own welfare. So when we get a little indication of love, we have to study the life of the gopis, and that helps to teach us. And so what looks as love in the material world is just some romantic movie. The activities are there, but the substance is not there. And generally, the mood is, it's about me. And you'll see so many problems today in relationships, in married life and friendship life. Why? Because everyone is thinking, you know, what about me? What am I getting out of this? And so when I don't get what I expect, then I don't give also. And then things gravitate down. We have a nice little example where husband and wife, this is a real life story that happened maybe a decade ago. Husband and wife are on the verge of breaking up because the husband is, disturbed with the wife. So he's not tolerating what she's doing anymore. So, and then it gets into various arguments. So finally, it goes to a marriage counselor, and the marriage counselor is good at investigating, finding out what is the bottom line. So he wants to know from the husband, what is it about your wife that is so disturbing? Well, he says, she makes me bread. And then when she takes the bread, she cuts it, and she gives me the end piece of the bread, and she takes the middle piece, the best part. Therefore, I can conclude from this, she does not love me. This is a true story. And so then inquiring upon the wife, we found out that the wife is coming from the background of Italy. She's Italian. So in Italy, when the Italians consider that the end piece of bread is the best part, it's part of their tradition. So when they give the end piece of bread, they're giving you the best part. Now the husband somehow or other doesn't know it, and the wife is not saying anything. So when it was revealed, this was the reason. And then, of course, things changed. But a lot of times in our relationships in this material world, we assume that people don't love us or not giving us what we want. They don't understand us, or we don't understand them. So you see in this material world, things break down easily, and that it's not as high as it used to be because people don't get married anymore. Years ago, when people actually honored the sacrament of marriage, statistics showed, this was back in the 1970s, I think it was, that 70% of people in the United States, at least, were breaking up and getting married at least 2 or 3 times. Nowadays, the statistics cannot calculate because together, and they find it more convenient. That way, if there's any reason for break, you don't have to go through all the legal procedures, the social problems, the dividing up of the different assets. So people just enter into these relationships without this. Actually is a sacrament. It's mentioned in the Bible, it's mentioned in the Vedas as the way that people in a particular people in general should live their life. And if you want love to be there in that relationship, you have to have the third partner. So 2 people are not enough. There has to be a third partner, and the third partner is Krishna. So when 2 people come together to serve Krishna as the goal of their activities and work to support and help each other in that process of serving Krishna, then love develops, because love is actually coming from Krishna, because Krishna is the source of everything, and he's also the source of love. And sometimes he's referred to as the God of love, who only wants to exchange loving relationships with his devotees. So when we learned how to serve Krishna, to please Krishna, then our relationships between each other actually develop into true relationships, or relationships based on selfless activity. Krishna is the center. Just like even in our society, as we try to organize our society, when we have disagreements on how to do things, we should always refer to Srila Prabhupada's teachings and his instructions in reference to the activity we're performing, so we can get away from our own personal motivation and understand what is the direction given by the spiritual master. We may use our intelligence. Everything is given by the spiritual master, by Krishna. So when we connect our relationships with Krishna, then our relationships with each other take on the quality of love, because Krishna is the center. I'm not the center, you're not the center. Once Krishna is the center, because he is the real center, just like maybe when you were a kid, you went down to the lake or down to a body of water, and you throw some rocks in there, and then you see how the circles concentrically come from the water. So if you keep hitting the same spot, the circles are concentric. But if you hit in different places, the circles clash, and then they're not concentric. So in the same way, keeping Krishna in the center, because he is the center, means that everyone benefits by keeping Krishna in the center. And how do we keep Krishna in the center? By following the instructions of Krishna as given by the scriptures, by the spiritual teachers, by the spiritual master, and learning how to in a day-to-day life. Just knowing the instructions is the beginning, but application of those instructions in a practical way brings realization of the goal that we are trying to accomplish. And that is to awaken our attraction for Krishna. Okay, so I'll stop there. If there's any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. for the spontaneous class. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead. Raj Prabhu. Please.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Is there a concept of giving love or taking love?
We take in order to give.
Okay.
Just like we eat in order to have the nourishment and the energy, everything that the body needs in order to function, at least on the physical level. So, yeah, that's why the gopis' love is not dependent on Krishna's love for them, but because Krishna is attracted by unalloyed love, he automatically reciprocates their love in different ways. So they get nourishment from Krishna's love, and therefore their love also continues to grow even more. So you see in the material world, if there is some relationship, it requires both persons to participate. Otherwise, we find that one of them, if they're giving love and not receiving some reciprocation for that, they to continue to do that. That's why pure love can only be found in Krishna. In the material world, there has to be some reciprocation in order to nourish the individual's own love for the other person. Just like we say love and separation, just like love and separation is people love each other and then there's some reason to be separated. And in that separation, the longing for the meeting with the person becomes stronger and stronger as time goes on. But then it reaches a certain point that if the other person doesn't return to that relationship, we find in the material world that other person will give up that person and say, well, I need some fulfillment, I'm not getting anything. So they move on to another relationship. You won't find that element in love for Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj. So does taking love manifest as appreciation for that love?
Well, it nourishes one, yeah. It nourishes it because the purpose of life, and this is the only purpose of life, the only purpose of life is to give love and to receive love. But if you give love, you'll receive love. But if you have conditions on giving love, then it becomes hard to receive love.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
But because Krishna is all attractive, he's lovable. Do you know anybody in this material world that's all attractive? I mean, there are people who are attractive, but not all attractive. Yeah, so that nourishment is there. So in order for relationships to go on in this world, there has to be that. Just like the husband wants the wife to be Sita, but the wife says the husband's not Ram. So she can't become Sita because he's not Ram, So it becomes difficult. But if he's worthy of her reciprocation, she's willing to give more and more, and then he can return also. And then that goes on for some time. But even the best situation in the material world ends because it's under the time factor. And if love is based on something physical, then it ends fast. Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
Sri Devi, you are a counselor on how to teach people how to love each other in married life. So I'm thinking you have some insight in this subject here.
Guru Maharaj, I'm just listening to you. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to all the wonderful, wonderful spiritual masters in our Guru Parampara. You know, I do see a lot of problems, Guru Maharaj, and so much of it is, according to me, lack of training, lack of real understanding about the sacredness of marriage, about the duties and responsibilities that come with marriage. Because today we girls are brought up in a very, very vitiated atmosphere. I mean, speaking of myself, we want romance, we want attention, we want gifts, we want quality time, we want this and we want that. Looking at just 2 generations, my mother and my grandmother, they wouldn't dream of asking for all these things. They wouldn't dream of it. It was more, how can I serve my children? How can I serve my husband and my in-laws? How can I make the home a nice place? She took joy, and great happiness came from making the home a very serene, beautiful place. I know grandmothers, my ex-mother-in-law also, their pleasure was in making the home a beautiful place where everyone can thrive and get nourished and so on. But today we want this, we want that, we want that, we want so many things. And if the guy doesn't come up with those things, we just get put off and we say, oh, this is not okay, and so on. And I think it is directly a result of society breaking down. There's no joint family, there's no training for young girls to see how a wife and a mother should behave. Similarly, there's no training for a young man to see how his father, I mean, they don't even have fathers these days. There's so much single parenting going on that a child is missing out on seeing what is a decent husband-wife, mother-father relationship. So it's really a very, very difficult time, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, that's true. But the Krishna element has to be there in order to keep the people, you're talking about people who are very pious, and so there was devotional elements there because they were trained in that also. But still, that is not perfect. And as Kali Yuga progresses, people will find more and more reasons to disagree. And that's already happening now. When disagreement becomes so strong, then even in the slightest little disturbance in the relationship, things get weakened really fast. This is the feature of Kali Yuga. And you mentioned lack of training, and that's one of the reasons, the training. And where's the training going to come from? It has to come from spiritual principles. Material principles are all about, it's more like it's business. Business, you give something and
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I'm really thinking of Mother Krishna Nandini again, and how much she strove to impart knowledge of Krishna conscious relationships, of healthy, loving relationships.
That has to be there.
Right.
Yeah, there's a nice little book. It's called A Third Partner. I have a copy. It was done by Chaitanya Charna many years ago. And it gives a lot of the points that we were with many examples. There has to be a center to that relationship. And that center is Krishna. Because that center doesn't change, where material relationships, although maybe nice for a little while, as things change in the relationship, people change, the relationship also becomes affected.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, thank you so much for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Devanand Pandit Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, dear Guru Maharaja, and all my God brothers and God sisters for your prayers that my family and I are now safe. I was escaped from war zone as a part of convoy which was organized by Protestant Church. The Protestants organized the removal of hundreds of people from the hotspots of Ukraine, as well as the distribution of many tons of humanitarian aid. I personally witnessed how the pastor of the Protestant church took the elderly parents of one elevated Krishnaite to a safe city in his one car from the war zone to a safe city, where he gave them and another family of so-called non-devotees his 3-room apartment to live in. Jesus Christ gave only 2 commandments. One, first, love your Lord with all your heart, and second one, love your neighbor as yourself. Why does it sometimes seems to me that I direct my maximum effort to the first commandment, to love Lord, neglecting the second, to love my neighbor? What should I do with my heart if my heart is not pure enough to understand the love of God? I read and hear a lot about it, but I don't understand what it is. Perhaps my heart is so hard that I don't even know how to love my neighbor. What can I do with myself in such situation?
Well, the explanation is that one who can see oneself and others, that if someone else is suffering, you think, well, I don't want to suffer also. So we don't cause any suffering to another person because we feel that, yeah, if this was happening to me, I would feel very unhappy. So when we see other people suffering, we should think that if I can do something to relieve their suffering, because in the nature of life is to do good to others. So we're talking on the material level in this particular situation, but it actually is an element of bhakti directed in that way. But because we have a relationship with Krishna, and as that relationship with Krishna increases, we don't see any difference between myself and another person. In other words, to love another person as oneself, as you mentioned in the second commandment, means to give that other person what I would give to myself in the same way. So the best thing you can give to another person is Krishna or Krishna consciousness. But helping a person on the material level is also the same sentiment, but it's in a less direct form. But it doesn't really satisfy the heart. What satisfies the heart is we see Krishna in the hearts of all living entities. So a devotee doesn't hate anyone. It's mentioned that when the devotee sees another person become happy, they also become happy. When they see other person suffer, and they also feel to some degree that same suffering. That's called empathy, but empathy is just a kind of close word to put yourself in another person's place. But actually, what it really means is the understanding the supreme source of all living entities, and each one of the living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. And therefore, because we have an eternal relationship with Krishna, we also have an eternal relationship with each other in our relationship with Krishna. So giving Krishna to, but when we give food, clothing, shelter, and take some time to sacrifice on the personal level, these are also features of the element of our love for Krishna, but it's not pure because it's still based on the bodily conception of life. But it's glorious in that sense. Even in the material sense, it's considered to be, in one sense, seeing, or maybe not clearly, but seeing the connection between the living entity and God and oneself. So before you can take care of another person, you have to take care of yourself. That's also understood. What you can give to another person depends on what you have yourself. So we give in order, we take in order to give, but giving is the actual goal. But you'll see, even if a person is unfortunate on the material level, they may be fortunate on the spiritual level, or vice versa. If a person is fortunate on the spiritual level, they may be unfortunate on the material level. So when we amalgamate both of those together, that's perfection. But ultimately, we are concerned with the soul because the body does not die. I mean, the soul does not die. Even if the body is killed, the soul goes on. So fear of death is really part of, but we are concerned about the happiness of others, so therefore we try to help others even in the material way. But we know that's not perfect because material welfare activities or material compassion is subject to the time. But if you give people Krishna and they accept it and bring Krishna into their life, that is the highest form of welfare you can do for anyone. Even if they die, their death will bring them closer to Krishna, which is ultimately the goal of life. So we don't neglect material suffering, but actually we understand material suffering is due to a person's karma. But if we can help them, that is give them Krishna or Krishna consciousness. So for distributing food, we should distribute prasadam.
I don't believe that people in such difficult situations, such dangerous situation, can take Krishna. They can take shelter. They can take.
Yeah, we're reading about so many devotees who are now in that situation there in the Ukraine. And what are they doing? They're chanting Hare Krishna, they're having kirtan, they're coming together and giving support to each other through worship of the Lord. And many of them, I'm reading about, many of them are actually feeling the shelter and protection of Krishna in a very strong way. It's not just some theoretical thing, because Krishna's there. Rake Krishna More Ke, More Krishna Rake Ke. Now, better than that is Kotiya Pratijani Hina Me Bhakta Pranashite. But even if Krishna allows for a devotee to die in a circumstance, if that devotee is Krishna conscious, they have achieved the goal of life. Death is not the worst thing. The worst thing is to lose your opportunity in your relationship with Krishna. That's worse. Because if you die, you get another body anyway. You continue to live. The soul does not die. The soul is eternal. But our reason for accepting bodies in this material world is because we have to undergo birth and death continuously and suffering in between because we haven't developed our relationship with Krishna. As soon as we actually develop love for Krishna, there's no more suffering, there's no more death. Back home, back to Godhead. So this war, although it's imposing suffering in many ways, especially on the devotees, the Krishna consciousness is becoming stronger and stronger. And we're seeing that.
What can I do with Mahata is if I'm not so exalted to understand this?
Well, you should be. You have to. This is the truth. It's not a matter of being exalted or not exalted. The scriptures say this is the way it is. This is the purpose of life. The purpose of life is not to take birth again. Purpose of life is to go back home, back to God, and the only way you can do that is to develop your love for Krishna.
I'm not just not so exalted,
Because it takes
I'm
one.
not-
It takes one above the body conception of life.
I find myself
Exalted or not exalted doesn't really mean anything. What it means is that we have to understand we are not these bodies. We don't die. Death is for the body, not for the soul. The soul, Krishna says that over and over again in the Bhagavad Gita. Nahanyate hanyamane sarire, for the soul there's neither birth or death, nor having once been does it ever cease to be. It's unborn, undying, primeval, eternal. It's not slain when the body is slain. We are concerned also with the welfare of people on the material level. But more important is to give them Krishna consciousness. Save the person. That will make the person happy. That will free the person from suffering.
but maybe first we must save body and then save soul.
You have to get a little. Can't hear clearly.
When I find myself in the dangerous situation, I understand that I'm thinking only about to save my body.
Well, you can be walking down the street and thinking it's a beautiful day, and you can slip and fall and break your head and then die right then. So where is there not a dangerous situation in this material world? There's people who go to sleep at night and they fall out of bed and they die when they hit the floor. I mean, this material world is predominantly. It's danger at every step. You could be sitting in your nice vacation home and you get bitten by a mosquito that has a malaria, and then after some time you die. So this is the material world. Death is there everywhere. It's all around. It's part of life. So we think, well, if I can live a full life, then that's life. No. Some of the greatest saints lived only 20, 30 years, but they achieved the goal of life and they had self-realization. So I'm not saying we shouldn't be concerned about people who are suffering due to material situations. That is not my point. But real welfare work is to give people Krishna consciousness. And you'll see, and I think you know too, and I'm getting reports. I just read a beautiful report from Sri Devi. She sent it out in a conference today. How people are rising above all this suffering because they're so fixed on Krishna. They're fixed on Krishna. That's the idea. Get fixed on Krishna. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dana Pram. Chant the holy names of the Lord. Take shelter of Krishna. Know Krishna is there. Krishna doesn't neglect his devotees. Everywhere you go in the material world, there is suffering. It doesn't matter who you are or what. Some are worse, some are less. But material world means to suffer. Material world means to leave the body at one point. It's just the nature of this world. If we don't understand that, then we're living in an illusion. Lord Chaitanya said, some people say this is good, and some people say this is bad. But from my point of view, Lord Chaitanya says, everything is bad, materially. Why? Because birth and death are there on the material level. Disease, old age, it's all there. This is foreign to the soul's existence. The soul has nothing to do with birth, death, disease, and old age. It has nothing to do with this material world. And so therefore, we take care on the material level, and we also try to help others. The real welfare work, the best thing you can do for another person is give them Krishna. We don't give food, we give prasadam.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we are not these bodies, but we take care of the body because the body is important because the soul is in it. But ultimately, we are not the body. And if we don't understand that at the time of death, we will understand that. When the body is taken away from us, we will experience ourselves traveling somewhere to our next body. That you will learn at the time of death. But why learn it then? Learn it now. You know, the young person is, look at that old person is going to die soon. And the young person's thinking, I'm so fortunate. I'm young. I have my whole life in front of me. I got so many plans I'm going to enjoy. This is Maya. This is an illusion. As long as we have a material body, you have to suffer. That's just the way it is. No one can get around that. Therefore, the scriptures say, you know, Jeeb Jago, Gola Chandra Bole, Kota Nidra, Jayo Maya, Pisa Chita Kole. Chant the holy names of the Lord. Understand who you really are. Develop your love for Krishna and go back home, back to Godhead. These dire material situations such as war and pestilence and all kinds of calamities imposed upon us by material nature are increasing our Krishna consciousness. They help us to become more serious in our execution of devotional service. And that, from that point of view, it's good. I wish you well. Take care. You're in Poland now, right?
Sorry.
You're in Warsaw now?
Now I'm in safe place in the city of Ternopil.
You're still in Ukraine, or you're in Warsaw?
Yes, I can't cross the border.
You can't?
Yes, I do. I can't
Mm.
because of
Yes.
ban.
Yeah.
To me,
But if you can get out, it's good because many people are leaving. There's people are going into Poland, and from Poland they're going into Denmark, like that, and other places. So, of course, don't take any unnecessary risks, but stay together with your strength, and will help you become more and more Krishna conscious.
Thank you very much.
There's nothing to fear as long as we remember Krishna. And Krishna is forcing us to remember him always. So in that sense, it's good. So we're praying for the devotees. I was just with Naranjan Swami about a week ago. Naranjan Swami is getting reports throughout the whole day, from the time he wakes up in the morning to the time he goes to bed at night. He doesn't even have time to take care of his personal needs. He's just dealing with so many situations. The devotees are writing, different calls are coming in, emergency situations, so many things. He's trying to help. And so there are also programs that are going on in order to try to save the devotees and get them out of that situation and bring them to a more safer area. So, yeah, so there is a strong relief effort coming from devotees and other people also. So, yeah, I don't really know what to say except that stay together with the devotees, pray and chant the holy names and inspire each other. And just know that without Krishna, there's no hope. With Krishna, there is only hope.
Thank you very much, Triple Maharaj.
Yeah, best wishes. All the devotees, give your prayers to Devananda and his family and all the other devotees who are undergoing some tribulations there. Help them become stronger in their Krishna consciousness. We'll pray that some arrangements are made for the devotees to get out of the country. That's the best.
And then I don't know, is it the right choice to leave my country when many people, young people, give their lives for freedom?
Is you're saying you're not sure if it's to leave the country because many young people are doing what?
Yes. I don't know if this is the right choice.
Well, stay together with the other devotees and just discuss it among yourselves. I can't say for sure. I won't say go, I won't say stay, but I'm seeing that many devotees are getting out. There's different programs going on. So these programs are not to be spoken about in public, but they're actually going on. And I don't know what to say except that, and I don't really know about these programs myself. All I know is that there is way. What is the best course of action? When you're alone and you're suffering, it's difficult. But when you're with devotees, you get strength, you get intelligence, you develop a sense of understanding, and you support each other. This is the most important. Stay together with other devotees.
Thank you very much, Triple Maharaj.
My best wishes, prayers.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, our prayers and best wishes for Prabhuji and all the devotees there. Radha Vinodini Mataji, you raised your hand previously. You want to go ahead and ask any question?
Hare Krishna, yes, I just didn't know if there is still time or not. So that's why
Guru Maharaj, is it okay if we can take one more question?
Yeah, we're not following the clock, so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you. So what Sridevi Mataji said about not being any training for husbands and wives, I was just thinking that sometimes I feel that we also would need some training for even friendships and all kind of relationships, because sometimes I have this feeling that we don't really understand the real concept of selfless love. And I had some interesting experience just last weekend, because there was one occasion when we had a group gathering, and there was one Mataji who brought some prasadam. And because I have to follow some diet now, so I couldn't honor it. And she just really revealed to me that she was hurt because I didn't accept it. And I apologized and tried to explain why I did it, but still I could see that she didn't understand. And one other Mataji said that it's one of the 6 symptoms of love and loving relationships to accept prasadam, but I just have this feeling that this is distorting the principles, because love is not like I want to give someone something, even if it's hurtful for him or her. And how should I react in this kind of situation? Because somehow it feels so strange.
You offered to give some prasadam and it wasn't accepted? Is that what it was?
I couldn't accept it because now it's not good for my health.
Well, you should have just took it and then just not ate it.
Oh, I see. That one I didn't even think about.
Yeah, that would have made her feel good. You know, like I've been doing, I did Sankirtan, and sometimes they give me, and they want to offer me some marijuana or some beer. Yeah. So I've been handed cans of beer a couple of times. I say, "Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I'll take it later." I put it in my bag and then I just get rid of it later.
Oh, thank you very much. It's really, really practical.
Yeah, if you obviously don't want to take it because it says you should not allow other people to do harm to you, because you are actually committing harm. You're actually committing an offense to yourself. Someone to do harm to you in the name of wanting to please the other person, or for whatever reason, there is a reaction going towards you for allowing that to happen to yourself, because you are a soul along with the body. But what we do is we find ways to somehow accept people's sentiment without accepting the gift.
Oh, I see.
Because that's important, to make people feel that, yes, okay. In some cases, when people are intelligent, when you deal with intelligent people, you can speak exactly what's the situation. If people are not so intelligent, then you have to find ways not to hurt them at the same time and not to be hurt by them.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting what you said, because when it's about relationships, I all the time try to follow, to be honest and communicate things, but I understand that really it's important to discriminate. I mean, in a good way, because not everybody can react the same way. So yeah, it's really true.
Did you tell her that it's not good for you?
Yes, I told her, and she just said that yeah, she also should follow a Vata diet, and still she used to eat. But I mean, I think it's different when someone's body type is out of balance, or just she has a certain type of body type, and it's healthy to follow the diet. So Yeah. So it seemed that she didn't really understand the meaning of what I said. That
Well,
it's not just a choice.
Well, try to, if you can clarify it, that's nice.
Mm.
But if you can't, then just thank them and move on.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really such a nice option. It's so interesting that sometimes we have so many options to choose from, and don't see all of them, just one or two or three.
Life puts you in situations time after time just to see how Krishna is always orchestrating something to move us forward in Krishna consciousness. So if we see every opportunity to advance in Krishna consciousness, or every opportunity as an opportunity to serve, then we're seeing it in the right way. But sometimes we make a mistake or say the wrong thing. Like a couple of days ago, I said something to someone. I couldn't tell how they took it. And then later on, I said the wrong thing. And so I apologized indirectly through another person. Then I met the person and I apologized. And the person, when I apologized to the person, he was laughing. He was saying, no, there was nothing wrong with what you said. He just didn't respond, that's all. And therefore his laugh was understood by me as like I said something wrong, but I didn't, according to him. In fact, he liked it, but his lack of response didn't really show that he liked it. So I couldn't see. And then, then we were, it was like, so I thought I did something wrong. I didn't feel like I did something wrong at the time, but his lack of response to what I said, and he was more like silent, indicated that I said something wrong. But then when I tried to apologize, he was laughing, saying, no, you didn't say anything wrong.
Yeah.
So you said communication is funny these days. Sometimes we don't really know what's going on with the other person.
Yes, I don't know. Somehow I would also need some kind of training on that because it's really difficult. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, it's just the way life is. We just have to be. The more thoughtful we are in our activities, the situation better.
Mm. Yes. Thank you very much. It was really, really helpful. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you.
Guru Maharaj, we have a question on chat by Vrinda Mataji. She is asking, Hare Krishna Maharaj, Vrinda Mataji, Vrinda. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for this class on this wonderful topic. Maharaj, is my understanding correct that the origin of all love is Srimati Radharani? If so, is she the source of love?
The
Origin of all love is Srimati Radharani?
Yeah, that's correct.
If so, is she the source of love in all the different rasas too, such as servitorship, friendship, and even Vatsalya?
Yeah, there's a statement by the Charyas that say that any love you have is simply an indication of a fraction of that same love that's there in Srimati Radharani. Yeah. Yeah, she's the source of all love. That's correct.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Krishna is the source of all love, but he expands himself by himself in his Ladini potency as Srimati Radharani, who is Bhakti Devi herself. ultimately Krishna is the source of everything, but it's said, but that any love that we have is also indication of a small drop of the love that Radharani has for Krishna.
Dear devotees, any more questions or comments? Guru Maharaj, I think there are no more questions now.
Reminder today, please do that again.
Sure, Guru Maharaj. Yeah, definitely.
My life is changing so fast. I'm going from place to place and situation to situation right now. I'm stable for a few days, and then Sunday things get thrown up in the air again. So
Sure,
I think
Guru
I'm
Maharaj.
good. I'm good until Sunday.
Okay.
Tomorrow is Wednesday, and so if you have the class for Thursday, let me know the topic for that class.
Sure, Guru Maharaj. I'll message you, Guru Maharaj. I'll have to check the email and I'll message you, Guru Maharaj. It's with the ISKCON Harrisburg devotees, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. And so Sunday, it looks like I'm not going to be able to do anything on Sunday.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Unless some miracle happens. It's still possible, but it's kind of a tight schedule. I have to go for some medical. And on Monday, I'm flying, and I should get to my destination in time for the program, but it'll be tight. But I think I can make it on Monday. So always just have a backup ready for Monday and Sunday.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Tuesday is hard to say. And Wednesday, definitely I won't be able to do it. I'm flying internationally on Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much, and continue to offer your prayers and best wishes, and whatever, if you can even support the devotees in the Ukraine, that would be a great service. We should think, if I was in that situation, how much I need the support of the devotees. So, yeah.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Okay, thank you very much. My
Thank you so much, Guru
obeisances, Vanchakalpa Tarubhascha, Kripasindhu Devacha, Patitanam, Bhavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namaho Namaha. Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada Ki
Hare
Jai.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare